whoops, wrong one. So I just have a few points to wrap up here. So we're an outer curve foundation project. So outer curve is a separate entity that owns the copyright and owns NuGet technically. So in effect, it allows us that independence to be a true open source project. So although I'm a Microsoft employee, I'm also allowed to work on this project during my daytime using Microsoft resources. As I mentioned, we're hosted on NuGet.codeplex.com. And we accept external contributions. So, if you're interested in helping us out, please do. One of the Black Duck Software named us the #5 open source rookie of the year. And if you've never heard of Black Duck Software, I don't blame you. I've never heard of them before. But they actually bought the company I used to work for called Coders, where we did a search engine for open source code. They also own olo.net. The other goal we have, though we're kind of give or take a couple weeks, we want to have a new release out, a new point release like 1.1, 1.2, 1.3 every month. We just want a regular, nice release cadence, like many open source projects. So far, we've had pretty good uptake. So if I go to stats.nuget.org, you can see how many packages. Wow. So we were at 271,000 downloads. We've hit 1,365 total packages, but 831 unique. So unique doesn't account for multiple versions of the same one. So I get to pop the champagne when this hits 1,000. So with your help, we can do it tonight, right? So large development teams such as Dell are building internal NuGet repositories. And that's a really cool way of using it. We have one at Microsoft even that not many Microsofties know about yet. And the package submissions are flowing in. And it's included in MVC3. So when you install MVC3, you would have gotten the first version of NuGet. And that's something that we'll continue to do. And the other point I really want to make is that it's not just for the web. If you're doing a WPF application, you can use NuGet. If you're using Silverlight, you can use NuGet. We don't yet have great support for Windows Phone. But if you're building a Windows Phone app and you have a package that has the right components, you can use it. But we're going to actually build in better framework targeting so that a package that isn't meant for Windows Phone can't be installed into a Windows Phone project. So we're looking at all these scenarios where people want to bring in code into their projects. So my call to action for you is help me spread the word. If you know people who are doing it the old way or releasing software as a zip file, tell them they're doing it wrong and that they should make it a NuGet package. And hopefully together we can build up the ecosystem. Thank you very much. So we don't have time for questions, right?
What?
Do we have time for questions or no? Does anyone have any questions before I step off? No? Oh, one? Okay, good question. How do we control malware on NuGet? So right now, we don't have any automatic controls, right? Anyone can upload packages. We really want it to be open. And the way we control it is more through social means, right? So for example, we show download counts, and we sort by download counts by default. So it's very unlikely that someone who nobody's heard of before uploads a package that gets a lot of downloads, right? But it is entirely possible. We look carefully at how Ruby Gems and other package managers and Codeplex.com, for example, and none of them have controls. And what they all told me is it's not a problem for them. So I am concerned. I'm always concerned about these things, and we're actually going to try to build in a few more checks to make sure that it is that we have better means of control. But for now, it's community moderation. If there's a package that's bad, you can click report package, and it'll send us an email, and then we can take the package offline and take a look at it. So for the most part, I recommend don't install random packages you've never heard of. Only install the ones that you know about, right? Is a good rule of thumb. Cool. Great question. Thank you. Sorry, what?
Is there any way to make the package private?
Can you make the package private? What do you mean by that?
Maybe you have a company and you want to distribute a package through different projects.
Yes. So do you remember when I pointed NuGet to the folder? So that's one way you could do it. You could create a folder share, put some packages there, and then have people point to it. An even better way that's more scalable is, you guys remember the NuGet.org website? That website is open source and accepts contributions. So you can get the source code for the website and run your own full gallery. Now, it's a little bit of a challenge to set up that website. It's built on Orchard, and there's a lot of power, but there's also a lot of complexity there. In the source code for NuGet itself, we have a very simple ASP.NET MVC application. You run that application, you put packages in a folder called packages, and it actually syndicates those packages using the OData format. And so if you run that internally, then you have an internal feed that's private. So it's very easy to do, and I highly encourage you to look into that if that's something that your company would be interested in. And you remember I mentioned Dell. That's exactly what they're doing. They have an internal running that little server, and internally they have all their internal libraries that are private in the NuGet. And they really love that means of distributing libraries. Because what it means for them is, like you used to have 10 teams who wrote the same bit of code. Like, oh, well, I didn't know you guys had already written the Facebook login code. He's like, we wrote the Facebook login code. Well, now, hopefully, it'll show up in the feed, and you say, oh, this is the way we do it at our company. And then everyone shares code. At least that's the dream. Cool. Well, thanks for the questions, and I'll be around here. And we're having dinner tonight, so if you have more questions, come up to me during dinner, and I'll answer it then. Cool.